Do you want to be a theorist? How to be a theorist? If you want to know the answers, then be with Teacher L for this episode. How to be a theorist? The answer is you have to master the art and science of qualitative research. What is qualitative research? It is an approach which seeks to understand by means of exploration human experience, perceptions, motivations, intentions, and behavior. This uses codes and themes from data collected from the participants of the study. There are some who are questioning the validity of this qualitative research, but let me quote you Albert Einstein's words. Albert Einstein's words. Everything that can be counted does not necessarily count. Everything that counts cannot necessarily be counted. That's how important qualitative research is, and this is my favorite type of research. So, when counting is not enough, do qualitative research. I learned to love this type of research because of my extremely smart mentor in my doctorate at Cebu Normal University, Dr. Brian Vasquez. Thank you so much, sir. In qualitative research, we need data or data saturation and triangulation. How to do this? I will explain to you the process as taught by Dr. Brian in the next episode. Just don't forget to click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for you to be updated of my lessons. This is Teacher L, and welcome to my virtual classroom today. Let me give you an example of a theory generated from a research, and this is from my own undertaking. The title is Hopkins 5 S's for Senior High School Global English Language Learning. Okay, this is composed of 5 elements, which are the standard curriculum, sterling teachers, sufficient time, sufficient learning materials, and the standard support system. These are all the ingredients to have quality teaching and learning, which means that this could only be achieved when there is collaboration of all the stakeholders, the government, the teachers, the administrators, the curriculum specialists, the parents, the students, and the Department of Education. The first component is a standard curriculum, which should be revised annually with the inclusions of teachers' feedback and is internationally benchmarked to achieve global standards. The language curriculum content standards should include the foundational skills like vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation, and the competencies should not be overcrowded, not overly high standards, in which its difficulty could hinder the student's learning. Moreover, it should be modified to fit the level of the learners without sacrificing its quality. The second element is the sterling teachers, which means teachers whose major are aligned with the subjects they are teaching and who have undergone proper seminars and trainings. However, the knowledge and skills of teachers are not enough without the right personality and character. This means educators should have passion, enthusiasm, patience, and open mindedness for them to become effective in their fields. In short, a quality teacher is a complete package with the brain, the hands, and the heart. The third ingredient is sufficient time, which is a must to have quality to achieve quality. This sufficiency of time is needed for both teachers and students. For students, they need to be given enough time for practice, and more exercises are needed to achieve mastery of skills. For teachers, they need enough time for them to prepare quality lessons and instructional materials. As students are complaining regarding academic overload, the same is also true with teachers, which is the result of having congested curriculum. In a nutshell, quality products logically require adequate time. The fourth factor is sufficient learning materials. This includes the facilities, equipment, or technologies needed to facilitate the transfer of learning, as well as books in which each child should have in all subjects, and instructional materials for teachers. Providing learning materials is intertwined with curriculum planning and revising. If both teachers and students are supplied with the necessary materials by the government, then time could be saved for the preparations. Having these is a must for schools to achieve the quality standards for teaching and learning. The last ingredient is the strong support system. This refers to the financial, moral, spiritual, psychological, and emotional support necessary for the learners not be disturbed in their quest for learning. All these needs could be given by parents for their children as part of their obligation. However, the government has also the big role in providing the needs of the students at school, like school supplies, books, uniforms, and other necessities. The community and its industries could as well help in assisting the needs of the schools. Likewise, teachers and friends could listen and serve as advisors for the students' emotional and psychological needs. All the components discussed above are the ingredients of or a formula for high quality teaching and learning. This is true to all, not only in language. These are the basic requirements to achieve the desired quality and standards of excellent an education. All these five S's must be taken into considerations for a nation to produce globally competent graduates. I just introduced to you the theory that I generated from my dissertation. This is my dissertation. This is an example of a theory generated from qualitative research. As to what type of qualitative research is this? Stick around. Let's do the qualitative research, its importance, and the types of qualitative research. Before going further, let's differentiate qualitative versus quantitative. In qualitative research, interaction is necessary to obtain data. There is objective separateness. You will understand it better as you keep on watching this video. In quantitative, there is no influence. It maintains distance and there is controlled objectivity. In qualitative, researcher is the main instrument, while in quantitative, tools and scales are instruments. In qualitative, biases are present and it's acknowledged, while in quantitative, biases are eliminated. Qualitative answers why and how, while quantitative answers how many, when, and where. Qualitative data are rich. However, it takes time to analyze, while quantitative data are more efficient, but it may miss some details. The following are the characteristics of qualitative research. These are wordy, investigative, inductive, naturalistic, and holistic. Wordy because this research uses words to describe and explain the phenomenon. This is investigative because it is an inquiry that helps understand and explain the meaning of social phenomena or what's happening in our society. This is inductive because this starts using research questions and it aims to create a theory. So if you want to be a theorist, you really have to do a qualitative research. This is naturalistic because the researcher observes, if not participates, in the real situation for him or her to describe thoroughly the whole phenomena. In here, the researcher intensely involves himself or herself in the phenomenon. And this is holistic because the investigation is systematic and rigorous in generating new knowledge and insights. These are the strengths of qualitative research. It could identify the root causes of the issues and suggest solutions to the problems, thus generating new knowledge, which is the researcher's theory. It could describe feelings, experiences, motivations in a certain phenomena using purposive sampling. It provides detailed explanation of the data collected, and it allows the researcher to use his or her innovation in creating his own frameworks. If qualitative research has strengths, it also has its weaknesses, and these are as follows: time consuming, there's an issue with objectivity, and an issue in the level of standardization. This is time consuming because this requires more time, effort, participation, and writing skills. There's an issue with objectivity since this involves personal observation and participation of the researcher. Others would say it is biased, but again, not all could be explained in numbers. And the issue and the level of standardization vary depending on the researcher's credibility. However, don't be afraid to do qualitative research. You are a student, you need to practice, you need to undergo the process, and that would lead you to think of how will you standardize your research. Don't be afraid to commit mistakes. From there, you learn, and remember, experience is the best teacher. There are five main types of qualitative research. These are phenomenology, ethnography, grounded theory, historical, and case study. Are there variables in qualitative research? Are there variables? The answer is no. There is no variable in qualitative research. So, if somebody will ask you about variables and you're conducting a qualitative research, it means that is a wrong question because the concepts in qualitative studies are called phenomenon. Again, the concepts in qualitative research are called as phenomenon, not variables. Let's begin with phenomenology. This type of research starts with question to explore the lived-in experiences of the participants in the study. This indicates the nature of inquiry, the key concept or phenomenon of a certain group, community, or setting. This is a method of learning about another person by listening to their descriptions of what their subjective world is like for them, together with an attempt to understand this in their own terms as fully as possible, free of our preconceptions and inferences. I'm just going to give you the highlights of this phenomenology. We will have a separate session on how to conduct this and its process. What's something you could get from here is just simply what I have learned in the classroom and from my experiences. Edmund Husserl is generally considered as the founder of phenomenology. He argued that we can study experience rigorously and systematically on the basis of how it appeared to consciousness, and he began with the phenomenon itself. A phenomenon is believed to be reality, a truth that exists as an essence and which can be disclosed. So the phenomenologist should disclose the essence of phenomenon in its purity. It should be untainted. Phenomenology strives to clarify our receiving abilities and rediscover the actuality of what it is. The basic data here are the experiences. How to gather, how to analyze, and to interpret will be discussed in the next episode. The phenomenologist's job is to make those experiences visible and true to the subject's own ways of living them. Let me just read this. Some would say plain description of the phenomenon is enough. Well, let the data speak for itself. Why? People experience and interpret things differently. Readers and consumers also interpret things differently. In conducting phenomenological study, the researcher will explore, describe, and discover the experience or the lived experience in order to get the essence or the meaning of a certain phenomenon. As Husserl said, essence is the true meaning of things for themselves. All our thinking, feeling, and acting are all conscious awareness, and these are intentional. What do we want to know in making phenomenological study? Okay, these are as follow. What is the lived experience of the informants? It means you are going to describe the phenomenon. Second, what does this mean to them? It investigates the essence or the importance of that phenomenon to the participant. Third, where does it come from? This investigates the origin of the cause of the phenomenon. Why did it happen? And how is it experienced? This digs the process. What really happened? For you to understand better of how to conduct phenomenology, this will be my topic for my next session. So just keep in touch, stay connected, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for you to be updated of my lessons. This time, let's have ethnography. I haven't done this type of research, so I could only give you the very basic. In here, the researcher focuses on a group, a certain community to observe the sociocultural phenomena. The researcher here is called as ethnographer, an anthropologist who is making a descriptive study of a particular human society. He or she immerses himself or herself to the culture and everyday life of the group under study. Dipoy et al. Define ethnography as a primary method used in the discipline of anthropology, which is a systematic approach to understanding the beliefs, rituals, patterns, and institutions that define a culture. In conducting this study, observation, participation, and interviews could be done. The respondents are called as informants of the study. The researcher will describe and explain the analyzed data. And I would like to quote this. Classical ethnography upheld the belief that through reflexivity, the researcher could remove personal bias from any interpretation and thus understand and analyze the reality of culture. Meaning, a researcher here should do loads of reflection and contemplation to avoid or eliminate the bias in research. So, if you love studying about culture and if you're willing to live with a target group like an indigenous group, then be an ethnographer. This time, let's have grounded theory. This research digs the problem behind an issue. Thus, a theory is created after investigating and analyzing the corpus of data. Chalmers and Bryan of 2010 posit that grounded theory offers the tools for building strong evidence within the analysis and for explicating the process. Likewise, grounded theory can make ethnography more analytic, interview research more in depth, and content analysis more focused. Hence, the International Encyclopedia of the Social and Behavioral Sciences of 2002 defines grounded theory as an inductive methodology that provides systematic guidelines for gathering, synthesizing, analyzing, and conceptualizing qualitative data for the purpose of theory construction. This grounded theory is originally introduced by sociologists Glaxer and Strauss of 1967. In grounded theory, a researcher prepares questions, collects data through interviews and observations. The main data is from interview questions, which is analyzed, coded, and thematized. From there, hypotheses and conclusions are drawn and a theory is generated. For you to understand better, I will show you clearly on how did I create a theory in my next episode of practical research. So, the Hopkins 5 S's for Senior High School Global English Language Learning is an example of a grounded theory. At this juncture, let's have historical qualitative research. Historical is testing the hypothesis concerning causes, effects, or trends of a certain past event that may help to explain present event and anticipate future event. This involves systematic collection and objective evaluation of the data collected from past occurrences. For example, you question about what's written in the history book. You want to prove that the information is wrong. How will you do that? You have to do research. You need to prove it that it's wrong by doing historical research. You cannot just believe in something telling you that's not true without proof. You have to prove it. First thing you will do is gather the data or information from primary and secondary sources of information like books, newspapers, magazines, journal articles, oral records, people who are living witnesses of the events, published or and unpublished documents, pictures, maps, artifacts, diaries, letters, and etc. Then you will examine and interpret the data gathered as you compare it with the old data. Evaluate the authenticity and accuracy of your sources. Then make more analysis and develop a narrative exposition. Put them into writing as you elaborate the findings. Fake news is spreading this time. Please do some research. Prove it before you spread it. And last but not least is case study. This type of research aims to shed light on a phenomenon by investigating thoroughly or deeply a single case, which could be an individual person, an event, a group, or an institution. This case study method originated in clinical medicine, like the patient's personal history. Like other types of qualitative research, the researcher observes, interviews, describes the behavior, records the information, and makes an interpretation. Those who conduct case studies are usually those in the medical fields, like psychologists, doctors, and nurses. This is very common to medical students as they do their community and hospital observation and practice. In here, the researcher could also use coding and thematizing, like of the grounded theory. We need to understand life and human experiences better. There are many things in life that could not be answered using numbers. We need the power of words to enlighten our senses. We need to answer the whys and hows in life, and this could only be done through qualitative research. I'm not the expert in research like Dr. Jesse Barrett. I attended a seminar workshop on research with my friends in Baguio City. He was our speaker last April 2019. And there's one thing I'm guilty about in research, which is my next challenge, which is publishing my works. But to publish research is the most difficult part. So I'm taking that as a challenge. But for me, as teachers, we should not be strict with our students' outputs because, after all, they are still familiarizing the research process. Therefore, they find it too hard to do research. Let them explore, discover, let them commit mistakes and improve their works. Let them do research based on their individual abilities. Let's give time and let them feel that there is always room for improvement. This is Teacher L. Learning is every day and forever, so we won't stop learning, keep reading, keep researching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for you to be updated of my lessons. You are free to share this information. Thank you for watching. See you next time.